Good morning. The December 16th Board of Education meeting is now in session. Please rise for the invocation. O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance, stir us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2.03 is approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
All those in favor? Motion passes 900. Item 2.04, establish agenda order. Mrs. Nally.
Thank you. I move that we add to the agenda the PTA report as item 2.11.
All those in favor? Okay, we'll amend the agenda. Item 2.05 is recognitions, and we do not have any. Item 2.06 is Educator of the Month. Mrs. Ritchie.
Thank you. Today we honor an educator in our school system who brings her heart and soul to school each and every day. While we all know the job of an educator is not an easy one, this teacher takes it to a new level. Deborah Engler has been teaching in Freetown community. Yes, that's you. For many years. She has built a pedagogy that is consistently growing and changing with times. She keeps abreast of new trends and new curriculum and spends her weekends finding ideas that will work to build the readers and problem solvers in her second room class. Miss Engler displays the utmost professionalism. She cares about her work, and it's obvious to all that teaching is her calling. Deb never gives less than 100%. She treats all of her students as if they were her own children. Her expectations are high. Her expectations are clear. She is meticulous in maintaining documentation on all her students so that she is able to articulate their strengths and weaknesses at any given time. As a leader of the drama club, Miss Engler has led the full-length musical at Freetown for the past 15 years. She works closely with 40 to 50 students after school, preparing for the full-length production at the end of the year. Her students make scenery, learn songs, dance, design, t-shirts, sets, and costumes. The relationship and bonds that form are strong, and Deb gives them an experience they cannot be replaced. The love she puts into this activity is like no other. Miss Engler plays a huge role in the culture of Freetown Elementary School and how the school functions. She has led the hospitality committee for many years, keeping the fun alive, keeping staff positive, and warmly spreading a true sense of belonging. This is the way Deb Engler lives her life. She takes people under her wing and nurtures them with grace and kindness. Deborah Engler, you build strong relationships with all your stakeholders in the Freetown community. Parents rely on you for your help, your honesty, and your faith in their children. Students look to you for advice, for love, and for a really good hug. Staff looks up to you as a motherly figure and a companion who works hard to get the job done with excellence. You are resourceful and, most of all, a team player. For these reasons and many more, the Board of Education is honored to recognize you as Educator of the Month for December 2015. Congratulations, and please join me up front. Let's come right up here so we can be on TV and everybody can see you. Yeah, that's the best part of this, right? Right, crying.
Hey,
yes,
it's drama club. Come on, I'm the drama queen.
It's a lovely plaque and a bell for your class.
Oh,
and obviously they didn't tell you the truth to get you
No,
here. So
because
how
I
did
thought
they
I
get
was
you here?
presenting drama club stuff to the board today, so I was going to wear a crown, but they told me not to.
Oh, that's not good. And I saw some people come in and
My
there's other
family.
people. Yeah, and who's with you here today?
Oh, gosh. Well, my drama club partner, first of all. My husband, mother-in-law, my daughter, my son, and my daughter-in-law.
Oh, good.
And my principal.
And your principal?
And one of my parents.
Great. Well, terrific. Thank you very
so
much for all that you do. We truly appreciate it. Thank you. And we're going to take a picture.
Oh, all right.
If everybody could just stay around for pictures after the PTA report, we'll do it after item 2.11. Item 2.07, Employee of the Month, Mr. Horskamp.
Thank you. As we all know, there are many words in the English language that can be used in various forms. The word record, for example, can be used as a verb, such as I'm going to record something. It can be used as a noun, such as he set a record. And we've all heard the idiom, especially in the boardroom, to go on record. But today we honor an employee in our school system in the adjective form of the word, meaning superior to all others, or a record employee. Vicky LaMartina has been the lead technician in the Office of Student Records for over 15 years. If it wasn't for Vicky, the records department at the AACPS warehouse would not be as efficient as it is. Day in and day out, she expands a great deal of time finding the correct record for students, parents, lawyers, employment agencies, colleges, and private companies. She makes sure the incoming records are scanned and stored properly, and she contributes to a positive attitude in the warehouse by making the student records an efficient, working office, a relaxed, homey place at the same time. She will fax, email, scan, or mail any and all information requested. No voicemail for her. Vicky uses a personal touch with all her clients, who appreciate her positive attitude and patience. In addition to her accurate record keeping in the warehouse, Vicky wears other hats in the school system. She serves as the part-time secretary / register at the AACPS Evening High School at Glen High. There, she registers evening high school students, where she's a strong, sympathetic listener to many troubled students who must attend evening school to graduate. She also oversees and trains student interns through the AACPS Student Work Study Program every year. She's very welcoming and a great listener. People who call or walk into the office just ask for Vicky, and they know they will be treated with respect and efficiency. A true animal lover, Vicky enjoys telling her dog and cat tales. Just stop by Vicky's office anytime. You'll be sure to find it decorated to lend holiday spirit to the warehouse, and she is always available to assist anyone. She's been called the human GPS, as she consistently gives exact and helpful directions to those who are arriving at the warehouse to pick up the records. Vicky LaMartina, you have served the school system for many years. Your work product, attention to detail, and your loyalty to AACPS is outstanding. So on behalf of the Board of Education, the students, teachers, and staff at Anne Arundel County Public Schools, allow me to go on record and congratulate you as our Employee of the Month for December 2015. Congratulations. Join me up front.
Front and center so you'll be on TV.
Again, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. So, how did we get you here today?
A meeting about records.
Good point. Okay. And so we have a bell for you and a little certificate.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Sure.
Thanks to my mother and sister for being here, and James for bringing me. Mike for taking the picture. Thank you.
Item 2.08 is Volunteer of the Month, Mrs. Hummer.
Two heads are better than one, so the saying goes. And this month, we're proud to honor two outstanding, long-serving parent volunteers who work tirelessly, both as individuals and as a dynamic duo, to benefit their school community while managing their own families and households. Today, the Board of Education is proud to honor Ms. Kelly Cooper, PTO President, and Ms. Lisa Saunders, Volunteer Coordinator for Windsor Farm Elementary School, as our December Volunteers of the Month. Kelly is a mom to a Windsor Farm first grader and an Annapolis Middle School student, while two of Lisa's four children are second and fourth graders at Windsor Farm, and the younger two will be there soon. As PTO president, Kelly works vigorously year-round to oversee fundraising events for Windsor Farm and programs that contribute to students' social and emotional growth. A partial list includes movie nights, pancake breakfasts, sports nights, the father-daughter dance, and the off-campus bull roast. As a result, the PTO funds enabled purchases of Lucy Calkins writing program kits for each teacher, 160 additional student Chromebooks, and iPads to assist teachers planning and curriculum implementation, and over 7 years, more than $100,000 in classroom smartboard technology. Kelly helps to coordinate, then jumps right in to help any task, including creating hundreds of Eagle Feather student acknowledgments for positive behavior. School counselor Amy Harris remarked, "This alone deserves county-wide recognition." Kelly Cooper's PTO board colleague, Lisa Saunders, is a valiant parent volunteer coordinator who recruits and trains an enthusiastic volunteer corps to ensure staffing for all of Windsor Farm PTO events and throughout the school day. Thanks to Lisa, many parents eagerly help with School Picture Day, the Flu Mist Clinic, the dance, robotics, and Sea Perch clubs, as well as lunchtime and recess support. Imagine how much time Lisa spent arranging for a volunteer to teach in each Windsor Farm classroom for the Junior Achievement Teach for a Day program. This is a huge undertaking, and she successfully and sensitively recruits parents for this, many of whom are apprehensive about taking on such a big task. Lisa's efforts contribute to the school's ability to provide programs full of enriching experience for all Windsor Farm students. Because of her tremendous organizational skills, these events run smoothly and students reap the benefits. Together, Kelly and Lisa are a powerhouse team who help to ensure a happy and successful learning community at Windsor Farm Elementary School. Thank you for your service, Kelly and Lisa. Would you please come forward? With great appreciation, I would like to present these Volunteer of the Month certificates and bells to you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, which is Kelly?
This is Kelly.
Kelly and Lisa.
Thank you.
And here are your bells.
Thank you.
And how did we get you here today?
We an advisory council board meeting.
Advisory.
Right? Is that what it was? Yes.
Well, we'll be having that. Well, so you're here volunteering. That is perfect. We're glad to have you. So who else here to surprise you today?
Hubby's husband, my son, my mother-in-law, and my husband.
And your principal?
Yes, and our principal and our guidance counselor. Yes, Mr. Roddy and Mrs. Harris, who are wonderful.
Well,
Yes.
congratulations and thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Before I go on to our next item, school and community highlights, I just wanted to welcome County Executive Shu, who's come in to hear our budget presentation today. Welcome. Mrs. Ritchie.
I had the opportunity to go to two fantastic events in the past couple weeks. The first one was the Avid Leadership Conference that was hosted by Northeast High School, where avid leaders from around the county come and do workshops and share experiences. And I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of the kids that were there, and some of them had been in Avid for almost 9 years, and some of them had only been in there starting at 2 years. But the piece that I took away from that, and the piece that I heard repeatedly from all the students, was that this was an opportunity for them to be able to really show and grow and learn how they could move forward and to go on to college or whatever their choices were. The opportunities to learn about leadership and organization and to see what was outside of the world that they may have already known. And it was fantastic. And the people that were there, all the Avid coordinators and so forth, were just so enthusiastic and so supportive of the students. It was just unbelievable. And the second piece I got to go to has been my privilege and honor to be able to attend for the last 6 years, and that's been the BSO side-by-side performance. Students in our county are given the option to audition, and then they're selected, and only a limited number can go because there's only so many seats that they can do, and then they play side by side with the members of the BSO orchestra. And so 22 students of ours went, representing 8 of our high schools, and our young soloist this year was Matthew Frazier from Northeast High School, performing on the violin. And when I see these kids there, I remember 4th grade and the violin, and I just got to tell you, this was not happening in my house. I know that much. But these kids are just phenomenal, and they're so it's not just music. I mean, the one young lady I spoke to, I'm like, well, what are you going to major in college? Physics. I'm like, physics? How do you go from the violin to physics? But then it makes all sense. It's all math and equations and patterns and stuff. So anyway, I was absolutely thrilled. The BSO has always been very welcoming to us and is very supportive of this program. And it's just been my pleasure to be able to attend not only that, but the Avid Leadership Conference this past couple weeks.
Mrs. Hummer?
I had the pleasure before Thanksgiving to be able to go to see the Meade High School boys soccer team play in the state finals. And they fell just short, but they had a fabulous season. And we've had several other schools that also made it to the state finals. Severna Park Volleyball, field hockey won the state championship, and Broadneck girls soccer. So we had a great fall season for all our teams, and it was great to be there and see all the fans out. Also, we have a wonderful partner with the schools in the Arts Council of Anne Arundel County, and every fall they present grants. Schools can apply for grants to bring arts programs into the school, both assemblies and artists in residence. And we had 38 schools receive grants from the Arts Council this fall. I believe it was every school that applied received some funding, and for a total of $53,678, which is wonderful, the additional arts in the school. I know my children's elementary school just wrapped up a week-long residency with the poet Gail Danley, who worked with fifth grade, and that was thanks in part to the Arts Council. And so I know my children are benefiting from it directly, and so are many thousands of other students in the school. So many, many thanks to the Arts Council of Anne Arundel for all their support for arts in the schools.
Mrs. Nally?
First, I want to extend my congratulations to my neighborhood school, Arnold Elementary, who was recently awarded a blue ribbon, and Pasadena Elementary. So we're very proud in Anne Arundel County to continue to add to our blue ribbon schools of excellence. The second, I had a really great visit to the Mary Moss at J. Albert Adams School. Wendy Slaughter, the principal there, and many of the faculty. Kathy Lane was there, and I saw a lot of you anyway. It was a wonderful experience. The students had done projects on World War II, and part of their project was to explain them. And so we were able to go around the projects and students explain them. And, that has been relocated now. It's only 5 minutes from the Arundel Center, and I encourage you to visit this school. You walk in, the students are engaged. It is just a great learning environment. So that was fun. And my second visit was, I keep saying this, I have 3 grandchildren at Annapolis Elementary School, so I have to give a shout out. I was there on December 10th for the National Elementary Honor Society induction ceremony. And if that wasn't impressive, especially since my oldest, Matthew Evans, was inducted in the 4th grade honor society, I wasn't too proud. But anyway, there were 17 youngsters, and I will tell you, it was just so impressive. And I didn't even know they had this, but apparently in a number of the schools they do. And I want to congratulate all the teachers who really work hard to make this possible, and the principal, Mrs. Kessiker. So thank you very much.
I just want to add, I had the opportunity to go to Arundel Middle School last week to be a judge for their annual science fair. I took the environmental science category and got to go through all the projects in the cafeteria and the classrooms, and it was very impressive how many students were participating. And yesterday, or Monday rather, I had the chance to join Richard Benford at the Maryland State Education Association's Education Policy Forum conference, which was really beneficial. So thanks for including me. Item 2.10 is the CAC report.
Good morning, Dr. Arlotto, President Korbelak, and members of the board. I'm Karma O'Neill, Chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee. Our members are working on 4 main topics: better communication for all, equity, school expenses, and the curriculum and testing. We have subcommittees that are working on defining the issues, researching policies and practices, and seeking community input. Our committees are scheduled to have reports ready for our February and March meetings. And I've had several emails to make sure that that's going on, talking with a lot of the committee chairs. We stand at the ready to help in the communication of the proposed budget that we're going to hear about in a few moments, and urge our stakeholders to actively participate in our hearings and discussions. And I have one last shout out. I wanted to say thank you to Jacob for coming to our last meeting. It was so refreshing to get a different viewpoint and the student viewpoint as we were discussing some of the things on our agenda. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Karma. Item 2.11 is the PTA report.
Good morning, President Korbelak, Vice President Nally, members of the board, and Dr. Arlotto. I'm Pam Bukowski, President of the Anne Arundel County Council of PTAs, and thank you for adding me to the agenda this morning. In the time since our last report, our council PTA has participated on the school board nominating committee, attended the November PIAC meeting, and volunteered to be of assistance at the Family Engagement Conference. We currently are represented on the panel to select the Teacher of the Year. We have encouraged input regarding the 2015-16 calendar. Supervisor of School Security Doyle Batten joined us at our November board meeting and spoke about safety in and around our schools. On Monday, we held our reflections reception celebrating the talent of 53 students who submitted entries in film production, photography, music composition, dance choreography, literature, and visual arts. 29 submissions will be sent up to be judged at the state PTA level. We are in the process of arranging opportunities in various venues in Anne Arundel County to have our reflection submissions displayed. We're very proud of our students who have shared examples of the creativity with us. Looking ahead next month, Alex Shaknovich will join us at our general membership meeting on January 11th to present on the budget process. In addition, on Thursday, January 21st, Anne Arundel County Council of PTAs will sponsor a county legislative night at the House of Delegates from 6 to 9 p.m. We are reaching out to graduating seniors in our county schools to apply for either of $2,000 scholarship grants. Information and applications were emailed November 1st to guidance counselors at all 12 comprehensive high schools, as well as Phoenix Academy, Cat North and Cat South, and Chesapeake Science Point. The deadline for applications is Friday, January 15th, and application forms can also be downloaded from our website, aaccpta.org. In fulfilling its mission, PTA stands ready and willing to support our teachers and schools, engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. We are anxiously awaiting Dr. Arlotto's presentation of his recommended operating and capital budgets for fiscal year 2017 and look forward to continued advocacy to support students, families, educators, our superintendent and board of education in this upcoming budget process. It is important to PTA that our students have access to and receive a first-class education, that our families be provided with means they require to be a partner in that education of their children, that our educators and support staff be valued and provided the necessary resources as professionals who provide the rigor and diversity in learning, creating opportunities for our students to become productive, caring, and capable citizens of the 21st century. In fulfilling our mission, Anne Arundel County Council of PTAs joins the AACPS community to engage, empower, educate, to promote equity and accelerated student achievement, to hold true that all children are capable of success, no exceptions. As always, PTA thanks you for these many opportunities to speak for every child, one voice.
Thank you. We're going to take a short break to do pictures for the Educator, Employee, and Volunteer of the Month, and then we'll be back for the budget. missing? Teresa? Where'd Teresa go? The next item on the agenda is 3.01, the superintendent's recommended fiscal year 2017 operating and capital budgets.
Morning. All right. President Korbelak, Vice President Nally, members of the board, elected officials, colleagues, students, parents, and county residents. I fully realize that I stand before you today as a single individual whose duty it is to present my best thinking as it relates to a plan to move our school system, our county, and ultimately our students forward. This is not a solitary endeavor, though. And I would hope that in the words I speak today, that you hear the voices and envision the work of a team of thousands of others whose dedication and commitment is second to none. Budgets are inherently about dollar signs, numbers, and percentages. Underlying every single aspect of any budget, however, is people. Ladies and gentlemen, we have awesome people who are doing incredible work for children. That work takes place each and every day in classrooms, laboratories, and lunchrooms, and on ball fields, stages, and tracks across our county. It occurs as this incredible team of people work both individually and collectively with our students to shape them into positive, intelligent, inquisitive, determined, compassionate, and caring individuals. I am thankful every day to be able to work with each member of this team. And I am confident in our collective ability, through purposeful planning, implementation, and relationships, to reach every one of our more than 80,000 students. We are a very good school system. We are not where we want to be yet. But we are moving in the right direction, and even in the face of adversity and criticism, I have seen and continue to see perseverance, passion, and progress. I stand here this morning confident that we will get where we want to go because I believe in the people of our organization who will lead us there. For all the incredible things they accomplish, however, we must realize that the resilience of our great people, the backbone of our success, is being sorely tested. They are weary and frustrated, and in many cases, they are becoming disenchanted. Constrained fiscal resources, increased mandates and assessments, and rising enrollments without matching resources have all taken their toll. You have heard their stories, and so have I. The frustrations of today largely have their root in nearly a decade of minimum legally permissible funding, a tide that the county executive and county council began to change just last year when they provided our school system with $5 million more than they were legally obligated to do. It is certainly my hope, and I know this board's, that we will see a continued change of that tide. A year ago, I stood before you and said that we must be cognizant of the fact that the rubber band stretches only so far. Our people, ladies and gentlemen, are being pulled to the point where the rubber band is about to snap. And it is up to us, as well as our local and state officials, to prevent that from happening. Through the different perspectives of their daily experiences, the voices of teachers and others heard from these microphones and elsewhere in recent months have echoed a clear and consistent message. Work together to support us and help us help our children. They yearn for more communication and better partnerships in an effort to change the conversation in our county and to create a better culture for our employees and ultimately for our students. I have told them, and I pledge again today, that I will continue to do everything I can to bring that about, and I call on our elected officials and our bargaining units to work together with me and this board in that quest. Our people, ladies and gentlemen, are the champions for children with whom they interact every day. In turn, we must continue to champion their cause. We owe that to them. We owe that to them because every day we are preparing children not just for success in academics, but success in life. It is our people at elementary, middle, and high schools, as well as at our special centers, who built the foundation and helped nurture and develop the students who graduated last spring. Those seniors garnered $154.5 million in scholarship offers, the most ever in our school system. It is our people who propelled students at Lakeshore and Severna Park elementary schools to earn the prestigious National Blue Ribbon status earlier this year, and as was announced on Monday, led Arnold and Pasadena elementary schools to Maryland Blue Ribbon status this year. This is the second consecutive year that we have had multiple Blue Ribbon winners. It is our people who work with our youngest learners, where achievement gaps exist before students even walk through the kindergarten classroom door. It is our people who work to narrow those gaps by the end of that first year and put students in a better position to succeed as they enter first grade. It is our people who embrace the rising number of children living in poverty, more than 33% across our system this year, and help them believe that no child is defined by his or her circumstances, but rather by the self-belief that impossible is simply a word for those who refuse to work hard and see their full potential. It is our people who go to incredible and often unseen lengths to assist our rising number of English language learners and their families, helping them to not just understand, but firmly believe that a language barrier does not have to be a barrier to success. It is our people who are employing a multi-tiered system of supports and interventions to help reduce the incidence of referrals and suspensions across our school system. Over the last 5 years, their collective efforts have resulted in a 9 percentage point drop in the number of students receiving 2 or more referrals, and a nearly 7-point drop in the number of students receiving 1 or more suspensions. It is our people who are now diving deep into the first release of PARCC assessment data, spending countless hours to dissect and understand the data as we embark on a new yet familiar race to move all students to a place where they are college and career ready. While there are plenty who will criticize the PARCC scores, I reiterate emphatically that they are a starting point for a new journey that should not be compared to the old. Above all, it is our people who provide a meaningful student engagement every day in every classroom to every student. It is our people who know that if we take care of the little things, the big things will take care of themselves. There are any number of different ways, test scores, reductions in achievement and discipline gaps, and sustained increases in scholarship offers and enrollment in AP and IB courses by which the success of our students and our school system can be measured. For all of the numerical computations, however, we must not lose sight of the fact that the mission stated in our strategic plan calls on us to do more. It is the mission of Anne Arundel County Public Schools to educate all of our students to be well prepared for college and the workforce, and to empower them to create a better quality of life for themselves, their communities, and the next generation. So we must recognize that while we must recognize assessment scores, both successful and areas in which we need to improve, we must also take heed of those lessons we impart to our students that are not found in a textbook or contained in a PowerPoint. We must herald the efforts like Harvest for the Hungry, which teaches compassion and caring, and in which our students have led the state for years. Last year's drive brought in more than 230,000 pounds of food and nearly $115,000 in cash donations to help needy families in our communities. More importantly, it reinforced for our students that there is a world larger than that which immediately surrounds them, and that minor sacrifices for some can make major positive differences for others. We must pause and applaud when we see efforts like those of Olivia Weathers, the chief custodian at Lithicum Elementary School, who applied the Heimlich maneuver to help dislodge a piece of pineapple from the throat of a student last spring. Her actions showed students that everyone can make a difference, even a life-saving one. But her thoughts about those actions spoke volumes not only of her mindset, but that of thousands of employees across our county. Once their moms dropped them off in the morning, she said, "They're my babies." We must recognize people like Meade High School Principal John Yore for the new culture and heightened level of expectations that he has established at the school. You may be aware that Meade's boys soccer team lost the state championship game last month. However, it won something Mr. Yore and I consider to be every bit as significant: the Steve Malone Sportsmanship Award. Told of the award, Mr. Yore simply said, "The win would have been nice. However, this is most meaningful. We love victories, but there are no wins without class and character." And we must pause to recognize people like the athletic staff, football coaches, and players at South River High School for their efforts to teach us that time is always right to seize an opportunity to lift someone's spirits. C.J. Burke is a 6-year-old from Edgewater whose mother has stage 4 cancer. C.J. plays football, and one of his mom's wishes was to see him play on the very field he will play on when he gets to high school. South River heard of the Burke family's case and quickly made their dream come true. CJ practiced with the team on the day before a game, and as his parents watched, played on the stadium field at halftime with his flag football team. But South River didn't stop there. The school made CJ an honorary senior, gave him a jersey, introduced him and his family as part of the senior night ceremony, and let him take part of the coin toss. Nothing that happened in the Harvest for the Hungry collection, in the cafeteria at Lithicum Elementary, on the Meade soccer field, or in that stadium at South River can be directly reflected in an assessment score. But these lessons are critically important. They and countless other stories like them are an essential part of our work to mold and nurture students to excel in a society which they will one day lead. Please don't misunderstand. Test scores are important. But as we get students ready for college and career, we must also get them ready to be successful in life. The formulation of a budget to provide and enhance structures that increase student achievement and impart those life lessons is, like education itself, a complex undertaking. In the myriad discussions we had over the last several months, I have asked staff to consider several questions. First, will it help us elevate all students and eliminate all gaps? Second, does it align with our priorities to support our employees, enhance early literacy and elementary education, address the needs of English language learners, and ensure that class sizes don't get any larger? Third, is it necessary to get us where we need to go? And fourth, can we eliminate or reduce something else to fund it? That latter is especially important because I believe that we have a duty to the taxpayers of our county to be good fiscal stewards of the funding they provide us. In the $1.14 billion operating budget request I present to you today, we have redirected approximately $13 million worth of resources in a more targeted and purposeful manner for the coming year. My budget request is $51.4 million more than the current year, with 73% of that directly related to employee compensation and benefits, to adding teachers to keep pace with increasing enrollment, and to assist with rising class sizes. My request also includes $15.5 million to fund a full step increase for all eligible employees and a similar increase for non-represented employees. It also includes $15 million to replenish our health care fund, which has been drawn down in prior years as the county has used it to fund other parts of our budget. I am also proposing funding for 33 new classroom teaching positions to break even with the ongoing enrollment increases and 10 additional teaching positions to begin to assist in our goal to reduce growing class sizes. Our school system has grown by more than 7,000 students in 10 years. And that's in large part due to the quality education that we provide students every day. That growth, however, has not been met with an associated increase in teachers. The result is burgeoning class sizes that are at critical mass at some schools. At Meade High School, for example, there are 69 core subject classes with 35 or more students. At Chesapeake Bay Middle School, there are 22 similar classes. My request contains $1.5 million to add 7th grade at the Monarch Global Contract School, $449,000 for 6 special education teachers, $358,000 to add 4 English language acquisition classroom teachers and an interpreter for our International Student Services Office, and $169,000 for 3 more bilingual facilitators to provide critical assistance and support to non-English speaking families. Our Enhancing Elementary Excellence, or EEE program, has been a huge boost to schools in the 3 clusters in which it is now operating. It not only has provided an additional subject of study for our students, but critical planning time for teachers, something they and our Teachers Association have sorely wanted for decades. This budget request contains $1.2 million for 11.5 teaching positions to expand EEE to 9 elementary schools in the Chesapeake and Northeast clusters. It also contains $654,000 for 4 positions to enhance the STEM programs at Lyndale and Central Middle Schools. In all candor, I would have very much liked to do more. I would certainly make a case for additional compensation increases and for more teachers to help with class sizes. The same holds true for a 3rd cluster in which to expand EEE, expansion of our International Baccalaureate Primary Years program, and a $2 million initiative that would have taken a big step toward a Bring Your Own Device program for students. However, I believe that my duty is to advocate for what we need and to do it in a reasonable way given the fiscal constraints that exist. What I've presented here is not everything we need. However, it will move us forward and create more opportunities for our students. Finally, I want to spend a few minutes on a subject that has received more consistent attention and comment than any other this year: school start and dismissal times. We have, as this board has directed, been engaged in a thorough examination of the possibilities that exist to start schools later. I want to be very clear and reiterate what I have said all along. I am not opposed to shifting school start and dismissal times. I do not argue with the science of circadian rhythms or sleep needs. However, I believe very strongly that any changes that we make must be instructionally sound and must not come at the expense of other parts of our educational program or our employees. Any plan must also take into account the logistical considerations that exist, especially with regard to time it would take to acquire buses and adequately certify bus drivers and aides. I have heard the comments from the public, this board, and others. I listened intently to our colleagues from Montgomery and Fairfax counties as they presented at this board's October workshop. What is clear to me are these 3 things. First, a simple universal shift would not accomplish this board's desires and almost certainly would cause considerable angst for parents, especially at our elementary schools. Second, rolling a plan out over a number of years is difficult and problematic, not just from a consistency of funding issue, but from the fact that to get where we want to end up, some schools almost certainly would have had their hours shifted 2 or even 3 times over those years. And third, any plan on which our school system focuses should be finalized only after our school communities and our employees have had a chance to weigh in. With all that in mind, I have included $8.1 million in this budget to adopt option A as presented by our task force, with a one-time shift in school hours, pending the provision of full funding and broad community support beginning in August 2017. This option would have our high schools beginning at 8:30 a.m., our middle schools beginning at 9:30 a.m., and our elementary schools beginning somewhere between 7:50 and 9:15 a.m. All schools would dismiss no later than 4:15 in the afternoon. So why don't we shift next year? 2 reasons. We must have the funding in place, along with the $602,000 appropriated by the County Council this year, before starting the process by which contractors would acquire buses. That acquisition process, as you heard in October, takes at least 8 months. Such a time frame would also allow us to fully stand up and begin to see any efficiencies realized from our bus routing software before we finalize start and dismissal times. I am planning to set up community conversations around the county after the first of the year so this board could have as much input as possible regarding the issue of school start and dismissal times before it makes a final budgetary decision in February. However, I urge this board, the county executive, and the county council not to take funding from other areas of our budget to cover these costs. We have seen in recent years, for example, the siphoning of approximately $18 million from our health care fund balance to pay for compensation increases and initiatives critical to our progress as a school system. Using one-time money for ongoing expenses is a poor budgeting practice by any measure. Ladies and gentlemen, there are no such rabbits left to pull out of the hat. If we, as a county, are truly serious about moving as a school system and about adjusting school hours, we must commit to providing the funding to do so and not to do it at the expense of our people or our programs. The proponents of later school start times have been consistently clear that they will take our case for funding to the fiscal authorities at the appropriate time. Now is that time. And I look forward to their passionate support for this initiative and all the others that are intended to improve our school system. Funding to support our people and enhance our programs is but one part of a successful school system. Our facilities must be able to not just adequately serve today's generation of learners, but allow them to thrive. The $255.6 million capital budget I present to you today allocates more than $74 million to pre-existing renovation projects, including Severna Park High School, Manor View, High Point, George Cromwell, Jessup, and Arnold elementary schools. It also includes $10.4 million for feasibility study and design funding for renovations at Edgewater, Tyler Heights, and Richard Henry Lee elementary schools, and $6.7 million in design funding for a new Crofton area high school. My request also includes $10 million for pre-kindergarten and kindergarten additions at Odenton, Woodside, and North Glen elementary schools, $10 million for a classroom addition at Odenton Elementary School, and gymnasium additions at Woodside and Millersville elementary schools, and $7 million for open space enclosures at Chesapeake High School. I've also allocated $1.6 million for renovation work at the Carrie Whedon Science Center in Galesville, with the expectation that we will be able to open a pre-kindergarten program for 80 students in South County in the fall of 2017. The capital budget is $95.7 million more than the one approved by this board in September. That may seem like a staggering increase, but almost all of it is allocated to our pursuit of a federal government grant that would provide funding for renovations at Meade High School. We are pursuing this grant at the invitation of the Department of Defense, and we would only undertake these upgrades if they are funded through this federal government grant. Former President John F. Kennedy once spoke of the value of education this way. Let us think of education as the means of developing our greatest abilities, because in each of us there is a private hope and dream which, fulfilled, can be translated into benefit for everyone and greater strength for our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to be part of this great school system that, through the incredible work of our awesome people, is fulfilling dreams for children every day. In the process, we are undeniably creating better tomorrows for our county, our state, and our nation. Thank you.
Before I go to public comment, I'd just like to say thank you to Dr. Arlotto for listening to our teachers and our staff and our students and our citizens and this board. I think your budget reflects all of those conversations, and we appreciate it very much. Anyone wishing to speak on an item not on today's agenda may offer testimony during the public comment portion of the meeting. Speakers will be allotted 3 minutes each, and the board asks that comments remain civil and appropriate for the various audiences that may be watching or viewing the meeting. Student-specific and personnel matters are confidential and cannot be discussed in this forum. This time is intended for speakers to voice their opinion and not necessarily as a question and answer period. Speakers may pose questions, but answers will be counted toward the 3-minute allotment. For the record, please give your name before speaking, and handouts should be given to the board assistant. I've got some cards regarding the budget, so I'm going to go through the budget comments first, and then I'll switch to the other items. If Lisa Van Buskirk, Deborah Wood, and Janet Norman could come forward.
Good morning. I'm Lisa Van Buskirk from Edgewater, mother of a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and the leader of Start School Later Anne Arundel County. Well, knock me over with a feather. I had some prearranged writing that I thought that I would have to do or to speak about a 30-minute shift or a 43-minute shift, and I will happily put those aside because congratulations, the potential exists for Anne Arundel County to become the largest school district, larger than Seattle Public Schools, who approved such a similar change in October, to implement safe and healthy hours following the CDC's recommendations in August of this year. Anne Arundel can be a leader not only throughout the state of Maryland, but across the nation on this issue. And while I'll have to think about the 2017 versus 2016 timeframe, it certainly is a vast improvement from what we've heard before, so I won't talk about that part yet. But as you have heard in October from Fairfax, and as Dr. Arlotto mentioned, the work is on the beginning. Community engagement and outreach is critical and past due. In the absence of direction and guidance, perception becomes reality, a reality that is feared because it is unknown. As you've already seen, entities within the elementary community are scaring parents into the 30-minute option and thinking that that was the only option under consideration. It was a done deal. The concerns of those parents and communities at large have mostly been alleviated, and Start School Later will support your efforts to the best of our abilities with your outreach to all those communities. We will also happily shift our advocacy and lobbying to the County Executive SHU and the County Council, both who have stated verbally that they support start times, and now we will push them to hold them accountable with their budget process. But we do have a question regarding the software status as you look forward to 2017. How will community feedback be incorporated with the transportation software? Can the public have an update on the implementation status of the software? When will the analyst be hired? What are the project milestones? When will it be ready to run parallel scenarios? And when will it be ready to run the start time scenarios? Not all Anne Arundel County Public School System families will benefit equally and immediately from healthier and start times, but all will benefit throughout their journey through the school system. The start time issue reminds me of Robert Frost's poem, The Road Not Taken. Two roads diverge in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. With this proposed budget, you certainly have the opportunity to make all the difference with healthy and safe hours for all students in Anne Arundel County. Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Deborah Wood. I'm personally affected by the current high school start times of 7:17 a.m. as the guardian of a special needs student at Broadneck High School. If we use the morning bus, which we'll be doing now, or not doing for the next year and a half, it would mean getting up at 5:30 a.m. to catch it. Thomas is lucky. He has 2 adults with cars who can take turns driving him to school, so we can all try to get a little more sleep. Other children in our county are not so fortunate. They struggle to catch those early morning buses and often head for bed when they get home at 2:30. Their families don't have cars. The family budget is severely challenged to come up with bus fare or taxi money if a bus is missed or just to allow for more adequate sleep. I talked with this issue about early start times with Robert Eads, an Annapolis resident, father, and grandfather. He's also a small business owner. He runs a taxi service. Maybe you've seen Neat and Clean Taxi dropping kids off at Annapolis High School. I asked Mr. Eads' opinion of the current high school start times. It's a disgrace, he said, to get them up in the darkness of early morning. High school kids can't function right without the proper rest. He asked me, whatever happened to 9 to 3? I told him what I knew about the change coming following busing to mix up children of different skin colors when neighborhoods and neighborhood schools still reflected generations of segregation. Somebody or some committee decided to tighten school transportation budgets by tweaking start times to minimize the costs. Mr. Eads knows the importance of paying attention to costs. He said, I lose a lot of dollars the way things are. Why, I asked him. Because the kids know they can get a free ride from me to school. There are many people in the low-income community who believe in education and do what they can within their means to assure these children have equal opportunity to getting the best educations they can. Hopefully, this will come about soon, hopefully without a lot of problems. My wish is sooner than 2017. Carl Snowden, who's the organizer of the Anne Arundel County's Caucus of African American Leaders, said, the safety and future of our children should not be negotiable. The caucus looks forward to meeting with Dr. Arlotto February 9th at 6 p.m. at the Bates Legacy Center in Annapolis.
Dr. Arlotto, President Korbelak, and members of the school board, my name is Janet Norman. I'm an Annapolis High and Annapolis Middle parent. I'm also the Ward 7 representative of the Annapolis Education Commission, for which I'm speaking for myself, not officially for the commission. I put this shirt on this morning because I needed to feel proud about something. I'm proud to have earned a Master's of Science from the University of Michigan, which I'm using to help your students, our students, succeed in robotics, STEM, outdoor learning. I'm proud to have earned the Lifetime Achievement Award from Maryland PTA for part of that work that I get to do with your students, our students. But I'm not proud of the dysfunction between AACPS, administration, the board, the county executive office, and the county council and TAC over the budget. Interesting presentation of numbers of where things priorities are, Dr. Arlotto. When you start off by saying, I'm not opposed to changing start times, you're not going to be the leader and advocate we need to convince the public that this is what the American Academy of Pediatrics and CDC are telling you are the right thing. If you say, I'm not opposed, that's not the leadership we need you to show to the community of why this needs to be done. Okay. I'd like to know where the $13 million of savings you are reprogramming is going to go into, because obviously that's your priority. If you're saying you're going to put $15 million in the healthcare fund, which has consistently every year been over allocated, then, and the county council knows that, and they take it back because it's $15 to $27 million over allocated, you're not engendering trust that the board is spending the money and you are spending the money in the best fiscal way possible. I implore you, as a student of a 10th grader who sees the devastation you're wreaking on Annapolis High students and just killing their motivation by these crazy early hours, I implore you to get things together for an August 2016 change. You say that parents can't handle the shift one year to another. We handle it every day when 5 a.m. bus rollouts make you change school times in the winter. I'm not proud when I had to watch an emergency school physician excoriate you for the bad judgments of winter school decisions because of the 5 a.m. bus rollouts. That's not a proud moment for this system, and I want to be proud of this system. I invest an enormous amount of time and effort, as do many parents in this system. So I want you to show you that our students and their achievement, and not just the elementary excellence that you might want to, promote, that you care about high school students now and that you want to change now. Thank you.
Those are all the cards I have on the budget. Is there anyone else who would like to speak specifically on the budget that was presented today? Okay. The next group is Will Myers, Kathy Hayes, and Sharon Merrick.
Good morning. I'm Sharon Merrick, a parent, former parent of 2 students plus, because I helped some others and they actually lived with me, graduate from the system here. And I'm here because of the Monarch School. I have some history that while raising my kids, they're all African American, and especially our African American male, I can tell you many experiences that I had, which weren't good, but because I was there and I was a homemaker, I was able to push for my kids. I was able to push my kids more, and I was able to push, try to push through the system, so that there would be fairness. For the African American females that I've helped, it's a little bit easier. But for the males, I'm telling you, it's not. And I don't think that has changed. I haven't been in the system lately, but I have concerns. I did have a young lady that I helped to get into the the technical school, okay? And she took up culinary. Now, I signed her up. She was on the list. Came time for her to go to school, to go to the VOTEC the next semester. It didn't happen. I didn't have the experience. I said, well, have they talked to you? Have they talked to you? No. So my problem is that it took the next semester, it took numerous times going up to the VOTEC school and saying, hey, put her on the list. So they said, oh, she's going to be number 1 or 2 on the next list. And even then, I had to push to ensure that happened. So my concern with the Monarch School, and there are many other examples I can give, but the concern that I have is that for our African American children, so many times, by the time they get up to the high school, in elementary school, they do really well. 5th, 6th grade, middle school, serious drop in academic performance, okay? So something happens. I don't know exactly what that is, but something really happens. My concern is that we get the number of African American children in the Monarch schools, that they actually have a place. But not only do they have a place, they have the support system. I was able to help my children. The number of African American children in Anne Arundel County would probably be at risk levels, I'm going to say, poverty level or below or near, which means you actually don't have as much time, you don't have the resources to be able to put into your child. You love your child, but you don't have the resources. So please, I'm just asking that you include and support, give them the support that they need to have success, because it makes a difference in the long run for as a viable community member. That's it. Thank you.
Ms. Merrick, thank you. Clearly, there's a lot you want to share, and you only had 3 minutes. Would you do me a favor? Would you take a minute and meet with Mr. Liverman, our deputy superintendent, so he could maybe get a little bit more direct information from you?
All right.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kathy Hayes, and I am here on behalf of Ridgeway Elementary. And I wanted to first say that listening to everything that's going on with the budget, I do not envy anyone in the position that has to figure out where money is going. There are definitely a lot more needs than there is money to fulfill, and I certainly appreciate that. I'm here just to sort of put a bug in the ear that I just ask that you please continue to fund the drives and lots category on the budget. I don't know where that exactly falls, but as a parent of Ridgeway students, we certainly need to make sure that our name gets called on that list. That's ongoing, to have improvements made to the parking lot, and we need to actually extend parking. And originally, that was the only reason that I wanted to speak, was to just make sure that we do get that funding. I want to also thank Ms. Seaman Crawford, who helped us get a temporary fix to our parking problem. So I certainly appreciate her quick response, and the people at Ridgeway were thrilled. That said, sitting and listening to the budget, something else came to mind. I am also the parent of a freshman at Glen Burnie High School. And I don't think it's any surprise if I say that the reputation at Glen Burnie High School they don't have the best stellar reputation in the county. I was a little fearful when I was going to send my daughter as part of the magnet program there, the biomedical program. And I have to say, now that I'm there, I realized I couldn't allow myself to be afraid if I wasn't willing to participate. So I started on the PTA there. And Glen Burnie High School is a fabulous high school. They have a lot to offer. The thing that is striking me, and I'm very new in the process of understanding what's happening with budgets and funding, but I think that some of the changes that need to happen in a school in order to change that reputation definitely need to come from within. However, when you have a poverty rate of near 50% for a school, it makes it very difficult to necessarily see those changes. I'm coming from an elementary school where we have so much parent involvement and funding that we are able to supply technology and all these improvements and all these fabulous things. I'm sitting on a PTA where we are lucky if we have 5 parents show up out of a school of 2,000. I realize it might not be the priority for a lot of parents there when they're trying to make ends meet. The reason I bring this up is simply to say that I don't know how funding is administered yet. I haven't figured this out, but if there are certain schools that don't have the ability to raise that money on their own through a PTA, I'm asking that you consider how you fund those programs that might improve the school, and not just academically. I know my time's running short, but I think there is a pride that comes in a school that you need to feel pride in your school in order for your students to want to go to that school, in order for your students to want to participate and do those extracurricular activities. When you have holes in your sports uniforms, or don't even have sizes that fit, when you have an environment of the school campus that maybe could use some improvements in terms of landscaping and just making it a more welcoming and inviting environment. I think all those things are important to make you want to go to school and be a part of that. And I just ask that you consider that in the future moving forward. Thank you.
Okay. Well, good morning, President Kobelak, Dr. Alato, and board members. For the record, I'm Will Myers, and I'm addressing you this morning as AEL President. At the board meeting on November 18th, the board elected to approve our contract by an 8-to-1 vote. The dissenting member read a prepared statement explaining the reasons for her decision. Ms. Hummer, you mentioned the current state of unhappiness and dissatisfaction among teachers, particularly in the challenged schools. You go on to say, and I quote, "If I were a teacher at those schools, I would find this grossly unfair, and I would question the commitment of my school leadership to the instructional team." Let me say this. The administrators in Anne Arundel County are devoted to excellence in education. We are in our buildings every day, often more than 12 hours, working with students, parents, and teachers to provide the best learning environment for our children. To question our commitment is to be out of touch with what is really happening in our schools. And to criticize us for standing by our colleagues at challenged schools, doing work that should be valued and appreciated, and for not throwing them under the bus so we could have a few more dollars in our pockets, is frankly offensive. I'll go on to say this about this bargaining process. While struggling through 9 months of negotiations and being told repeatedly there was only 1.25% available for all employees, late in the process, we were told we could give up our stipends to pay for a 2% salary increase. We see yet on that same evening in November an improved increase of 2% and another day of leave for all Unit 5 and Unit 6 employees. You talk about lack of commitment. Why not talk about the lack of trust? How can we trust a negotiation process that says one thing and does another? Representative bargaining groups were told they must sacrifice stipend money in order to receive increased compensation. And yet Unit 5 and Unit 6 members were given a salary increase and an extra day of leave. No questions asked, no sacrifice required. Now let me say this. It's not about how much they received. They are dedicated and hardworking and deserve every penny. However, there is an expectation that there'll be an explanation of what appears to be a breakdown in this bargaining process. As such, I'm requesting the board to reconvene the negotiating teams of AEL and the board to discuss the issue of what appears to be differentiated funding. Anything less may only lead to more dissatisfaction and distrust in the decision-making process. Thank you very much. I hear the superintendent. I respect him tremendously, and that budget's marvelous if we can make it happen. All the colleagues that I work with, I've known for years. Every member of that bargaining team for your side of the table, I've known for years. And I can say they deserve what they get. It's not about that. It's about let's talk about the process and make sure that maybe we are naive about certain things. But I would like to have a clear understanding of how this process happened. And once that's done, we'll move on. We are going to move on because we're going to stay dedicated. We're going to still do the things we've always done because it is about the children. In the end, it is about what we do for them. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any other completed cards. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board at this time? I would like to. Okay, come on.
Hi, my name is Aphrodite Bodycomb, and I'm a parent of 3 Davidsonville Elementary School students. And I'm here today because I want to remind you that I am still concerned about the study, the MGT study that was put out in the fall and presented, and had a great deal of redistricting, and that I really felt like didn't try to minimize the impact to any particular school. I felt like there were a great deal of schools in there that would be impacted by various redistricting thoughts, and I really thought that there could be some less of a domino effect, and you would still be able to do what you wanted to do in alleviating some of the overcrowding. So for considering maybe sending students from an crowded school directly to a school with room versus shifting 2 or 3 schools to accomplish that. So I'm here to suggest that, 1. 2, to let you know yet again that I'm very concerned about any impact that directly affects my children as they go to Central or South River High School for many reasons. And I'm looking forward to hearing maybe a bit more information about the perspective of the management study, whether you intend to continue taking that study word for word and use it and apply it for the next 5 years of your capital budgets. I'd like an answer to that now, because if that is the case, then we can start talking about all that redistricting now and not wait till the year before, after 4 years of capital expenses are done. So again, I'd love to hear more about that, even in a public forum or in some other personal phone call, whatever way, to kind of clear up my mind of what the process of all this is.
We don't have any plans to redistrict anyone this year. There's no redistricting on the table at all.
Thank you. I know this year, but what I'm saying is you're approving a capital budget, dollar for dollar, with all the redistricting plans in it.
No, we're not.
It's
There's
the
no
exact
redistricting
dollar
plan
amount
in the
at-
capital budget.
Okay, there were some dollars recommended in the management study, and I guess it's coincidental that they're the same dollars in your budgets. It possibly
For
could be.
construction, yes.
Yes.
Not for redistricting, for construction.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Dr. Arlotto, President Korbelak, and the board. Janet Norman, Annapolis High School, Annapolis Middle School. I was hoping to talk to you about the ongoing achievement gap that the Annapolis cluster is demonstrating to you oh so prevalently in your recent park results that have come out. Where is it 9% of our students at Georgetown East are demonstrating a proficiency, exceed or meet standards. I'm very curious why the Elementary Excellence Program is not being extended to the Annapolis cluster, where you have 31% of your entire county's Title I schools. Why would the Annapolis cluster not be receiving that special program? Do we really need to expand the STEM programs if we are not taking care of in the middle school, if we're not taking care of STEM needs biologically in our high schools? Do we need to bring primary years programs and teach Italian to students who don't know their native Spanish and are struggling to learn English? What are our true priorities for getting kids career and college ready that are in our high schools now and struggling in our middle schools? I don't see it. I don't see the actions we need in our Annapolis cluster and perhaps Meade and other clusters of high poverty. So we can say all the mantras we want, but unless the dollars are there to benefit these students in the evidence-based ways they need, and your teachers clearly told you that the alphabet soup of programs is not what they need. A very good principal, I knew, elementary principal, said she didn't want, after looking into it, she didn't want the primary years program because it was too much onto her teachers. She wanted to be able to focus on things. So let's not just chase things that sound good. Let's go for some evidence-based measures that can help all our students. I was at the meeting at Tyler Heights where I learned that 47% of their staff are in their first 1 to 3 years of teaching, brand new. So do they have the classroom skills they need? They're not going to run up healthcare costs for you because as soon as our teachers get experience, they leave and go to other counties, Howard and Montgomery, that pay them $2,000 to $3,000 more per student, and teachers $10,000 to $15,000 more, $20,000 more for our French teacher. So healthcare costs are not going to be skyrocketing. You're saving a lot of money by getting brand new teachers out of school who maybe don't always have the experience that you need to keep and retain them. So please consider, if you really want to close the achievement gap, use evidence-based measures, put it where the schools need it for our challenge stipends and for our Annapolis students. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to action items. Item 5.01, administrative personnel appointments. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that the personnel listed on the attached sheet be promoted and or appointed.
Have a second? Second. All those in favor? Motion passes 900. Item 5.02, personnel. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that the board approve the actions as stipulated on the attached sheets.
Second. All those in favor? Motion passes 900. Item 5.03 is an information to action item. Do I have a motion to move this from information to action? All those in favor? We now have an action item. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the approval of the tentative 2017-2018 school year calendar.
Are there any board questions or comments? Ms. Birch.
you. I'm glad I pressed the right one. I couldn't really tell which one was mine today. I just want to make sure that I know that the tentative things, they're tentative because those organizations haven't yet set their official dates? Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I have a question, more for my board members. At our last board meeting, we agreed to take Yom Kippur as the holiday because it was the holier of the two Jewish holidays. I realize that in this calendar, that falls on a weekend. So the question is, are we going to be alternating Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, or are we going to be just considering how the calendar falls, or are we only going to offer Yom Kippur? That's
right, and that we didn't know what decision you were going to make, so we just put it on here tentatively, but we can take that off just as easily. That is a decision you have to.
Because the decision we made 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago was to celebrate Yom Kippur. So this is different
on that last
Right.
calendar, but several of you said you wanted to have more discussions on it. So, but we can certainly change this, alter this. That's what it's just tentative. We just put one of them on there. If we're just going to do Yom Kippur, then we would just not recognize one in the 17-18, and that's easily just adjusted.
Dr. Frank?
Have you had any opportunity to talk to members of the community to find out what their thoughts are on this?
I've only had one call on the subject, and that call was from a rabbi who just asked me how it came about. He had had some calls wanting to know how the decision came about, so I shared what happened, and that's all I've had. I have discussed it with a few individual people of that faith, and they said yes, that Yom Kippur was a higher holy day. Everyone that I spoke to obviously did celebrate both of the days, but of the two, they said that was a higher
Maybe I should ask a question about the previous years. Have you had any contact from the community about previous calendar decisions on this subject? Has previous calendars been acceptable?
Yes. We always get calls from people who are not of that faith who have asked us why we do it. We have gotten input from that. As I said, the calendar committee has gotten lots of input asking us to consider opening on those days to give us a little bit more flexibility.
Thank you.
Dr. Frank, I had a call from a rabbi as well after the board's action at the November meeting. And he asked me if there was discussion about eliminating both of the holidays, and I told him that there had not been that discussion at the board.
And if I could just jump in, Teresa, the calendar committee not only reviewed the calendar that was approved, but then do they also review the tentative calendar for the out year?
Yes.
Each time they meet?
Yes.
So the calendar committee has reviewed what was already voted on, and they review the calendar for a year out,
Yes.
correct? Okay, so the calendar committee did have discussions as this, and this is their recommendation now to the board as a tentative calendar.
Well, their recommendation would probably be just not to put anything on this one. I wasn't sure how you wanted to do that one. That's why I just put one on there. I wasn't sure if there was going to be more discussion on it. But theirs would probably be not to have any on this one, just to do the Yom Kippur. We weren't really sure, as Steve and I were sitting down to do it, if there were going to be more discussion, if you were going to recognize one, if the other fell on the holiday. So that probably really was me putting it on here. I don't want that to be on the calendar committee. So we can easily make that adjustment.
Mrs. Ritchie?
Clarify that.
I'm not sure how it came about, so I'd like to make a formal motion. I would like to move that in this year and in years and coming forward, that Yom Kippur be the religious holiday that we celebrate on the calendar committee, and that Rosh Hashanah not be, but that we continue to not provide testing or after school activities or anything like that on this or any other high holy days that have come about in our knowledge and stuff. And we can't necessarily meet all of them all of the time, but we're going to do our best to ensure that we're meeting all the, I'm not going to say it right, but the Muslim holidays, there's other African American holidays and stuff like that that, that are particularly important. And so we can't close school for everything because then we'll be closing all the time. But we will be able to try to honor that by not having testing and not having after-school activities and those activities. So I'd like to make that motion.
And I'll adjust this one. It'll just.
There's a second. Is there any more discussion on Debbie's motion? Yeah, Teresa seconded. Dr. Frank?
Has that received a second? Having no particular religious affiliation, I will vote against the motion.
So we need to vote on your motion and then okay. Is there any public comment? All those in favor of removing Rosh Hashanah from the tentative 17-18 calendar? Amending the calendar. That we will be celebrating Yom Kippur. And not Rosh Hashanah. Correct.
Okay.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes 7-2.
And just so you know, the one that we will post on, and again, it is tentative, but the one that will go up online later today, we will back out a day. So that's what
From the end of the year.
For the end.
No. Yeah, but that would build in your 5 inclement weather days as well, so.
It doesn't matter what we do on that last day. So, yeah. I'll take it from the end.
Is there any public comment on the entire calendar? So now we need to vote on the motion to approve the 2017-18 school calendar as amended.
Tentative calendar.
The tentative calendar. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 8-1.
Thank you.
The next items are policy revisions. These are all second readings. Item 5.04, Holidays, Special Observances, Code GAH. This is an information item. This is also about holidays.
Yes.
Are there any board comments or questions on this item? Mrs. Hummer?
Yes, so the policy states that the following holidays shall be regularly scheduled days of closing for school, and it includes Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So if we're changing that, we need to change this policy as well.
Yes, we intend on amending the language prior to bringing it back to you for third reading to address the tentative calendar that was set today.
I had a question. Because we also have on here the Friday before Easter from then through the Monday after Easter, and I know that there's a bill being drafted regarding the Monday after Easter. So to keep us from having to change this every time something happens, can we just refer this policy back to the mandated state holidays, whatever they may be?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, item 5.05 is agenda preparation and distribution policy BCA, also a second reading. And there were no public comments on this one or the one before.
That's correct.
Is there any board questions or comments? Is there any public comment? Okay, so we'll go to 5.06. Board policy dissemination BFA, second reading. Also no comments on the website.
That's correct.
Are there any board comments or questions? Is there any public comment? Okay. Item 5.07, policy CBC, compensation and benefits of the superintendent. Also a second reading with no comments from the web. Any board questions or comments? Any public comment? And the last of our second readings is policy CC, administrative organization. Also no public comments. Any board questions or comments? Any public comment today? Okay, then we will move on to first readings. We have 5 policies up for first reading. The first is workdays, summer schedules for schools, code, GAG.
Thank you. The Office of School Performance, the Division of Human Resources, and the School and Family Partnerships Office bring policy GAG summer schedules to you for first reading. This policy was last updated November 7th, 1990. The updated policy establishes expected office openings during summer break. This policy will be posted on our website for 30 days for public comment, and we will answer any questions you have related to it.
The only question I had was under C, position number 4, each school shall publicly post their summer schedule. Do we want to say that that should be electronically as opposed to like hanging it on the door, or?
I think they typically do. Do you want to take this one, Dr. Kubish? Sure.
Schools usually post it on a marquee on their door and on a website.
Okay. Thanks. Is there any public comment on this item? All right, item 5.10, information item policy JCD, first reading, student attire and personal appearance.
The Safe and Orderly Schools Office and the Office of School Performance bring policy JCD, student attire and personal appearance, to you for first reading. This policy was last updated December 18th, 1996. The updated policy establishes expectations for students regarding their attire and personal appearance in our schools and at school-sponsored events. This policy will be posted on our website for 30 days for public comment, and we will answer any questions you have related to this policy.
I have a question on this one as well. Under B issue, students have the right and responsibility to choose their attire and to arrange their personal appearance in a manner which is healthy, safe, etc. What about schools that have uniforms when they don't really have complete freedom to choose what they're going to wear?
That's correct. So we do have a policy that speaks to our school uniforms, and it would probably be appropriate to amend the background language just to give a nod to the schools that have a little bit of a different process, because the students are still part of the process that establishes school uniforms. So we'll make that amendment before second reading.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public comment on this item? Mrs. Birch?
Okay, so if I'm a kid, I'm going to argue with you about whether or not this is disruptive, aren't I? So it doesn't really say who determine. I mean, how do we establish that? I don't think it's disruptive. My friend doesn't think it's disruptive. I mean, who's the arbiter?
Right. Do you want to?
This teacher doesn't think it's disruptive. So isn't that teacher crazy because they think it's disruptive?
So all schools have a principal who's charged with the safe and orderly environment of their school,
Okay.
and so that decision would fall to the principal.
Okay. And then if it turns out that that principal overreacted, then someone above that principal would say, you overreacted and that was not disruptive.
Correct, and usually the parents are involved in the conversation.
Okay, all right. Because I know we get a lot of this kind of thing.
We also have a policy on dress code that talks about disruptive, what we consider to be disruptive material. Yeah, but it's in the regulation. Yeah.
Well, actually, it's in the Code of Student Conduct.
Code of Student Conduct, that's right. Yeah, I remember we had the discussion, and because we had that exact discussion. Well, who determines what is disruptive? And it's in there, and it outlines all kinds of different stuff.
Item 5.11, supervision of students, policy JF. Also first reading.
The Office of School Performance brings policy JF, supervision of students, to you for first reading. This policy was last updated January 13th, 1992. The updated policy and new regulation provides guidance regarding when school staff will provide supervision to students on school grounds before and after authorized school activities. This policy will be posted on our website for 30 days public comment, and we will answer any questions you have related to this policy.
Mrs. Summer?
Are PTA events considered authorized school activities?
I think so.
So if you have a school day, PTA dance or something after school hours, does this mean that school staff must be there to supervise that event?
You mean a PTA school-sponsored activity, not a PTA meeting?
Not a PTA meeting, like a PTA dance, right?
So PTAs work, again, with the school administration to host those events, and we provide coverage from the administration point of view.
So school staff would need to be at any PTA, PTO type event after school hours?
Correct.
No, not PTA meeting, but if there was an activity for the kids that's after hours, I mean, my reading of this is that there would need to be at least some school personnel there.
If it's considered school-sponsored, that is what this is saying, and that is what our current policy says. So if it is school-sponsored, as far as getting into the weeds of the PTA, I'm
Right.
not sure
I mean,
exactly
that's
what kind of events.
I mean, the school is, is allowing it to happen, but if it's sponsored and paid for by the PTA in this event, that's where I'm.
Like we used to have talent shows.
Right, talent shows or a movie night or a dance or anything like that, which is the school is sanctioning it, but it's being run by the PTA. Is that considered a school-sponsored event where school personnel needs to be there?
Yeah. Yes, if we can take a look at that before we come back to you for the next reading, and we can give you a better answer on that question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mrs. Ritchie.
We do a lot of things in our schools after the school bell rings. And so we have people who come from basketball, and there are kids in that community usually who are on the basketball team, and so those aren't really, they're school supported in the sense that we, help our kids get there, but they don't have to be supervised by the school system. So I think it's the same thing with the PTA. You have to have it signed off by the principal and the usage form and so forth, but doesn't necessarily. But by doing that, you're saying to the parents, this is an activity that's taking place in the school building, but not necessarily being sponsored by the school. And I know that's hard because a lot of people always assume that it is. So that comes down to the tact of us trying to make sure we're being clear and talking about what it is, because PTO events and or anything that happens in our buildings after the school bell rings, except for like back to school nights and stuff like that, may be supported by the school, but they're not necessarily sponsored by the school, and that may be just a definition kind of thing too. So I'm just thinking, yeah, because I mean we. Speaking back to the days of the PTA when I'm doing events and things like that, when we did those kind of things, we made sure we had enough volunteers. There was always staff there, but we didn't rely dependently on them to be able to do the supervision. And there's also ones that run school, because they used to run some clubs, like some of the PTAs ran chess clubs or stuff like that. And some of the things I would hear would be parents would drop their kids off, assuming that the school had people there, and maybe the person hadn't shown up for that club. So I think it rolls to us to make sure that we're really being clear and defining who's going to be there. And that goes beyond just this thing, but I mean, it has to do with communications and stuff like that. If this is a school-sponsored event or school-supported. And that may be, our shall and must, may be the piece in there, but I mean, that it's really important to understand that there's a difference between those two things. And maybe that's what we need to maybe speak to and ensure, and when we get to the regulations or, the cool road books and stuff, so.
Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, item 5.12, Student Political Activity Policy JCK, first reading.
The Division of Student Services and the Legislative and Policy Office bring policy JCK, student political activity, to you for first reading. This policy was last updated May 20th, 1991. It provides guidance regarding student political activity in our schools, and we will post it on our website along with the others for 30 days public comment, and we will answer any questions you have related to this policy.
Mrs. Birch.
Okay, so it was last updated in 1974, which was obviously a very long time ago. So a couple questions. One, and it kind of relates back to the dress code thing. So does wearing a t-shirt for someone count as engaging in political activity?
No, you're asking great questions. I'm smiling because Dr. Arlotto and I had the opportunity to share this with the Teen Advisory Council,
Okay.
and that was one of the first questions that the students asked. And they were very insightful on this particular topic. And we said, no, I mean, you can certainly wear a T-shirt, but the actual engaging in the, I'm wearing the T-shirt, and now I'm telling you that you need to vote for this person,
Okay.
and I'm handing out pamphlets, taking it that next step.
Can they be doing their sending out messages from their cell phone while they're in school? Because that's on school property, and they're not supposed to be doing that on school premises, because this says they can't engage in political activity while they're on school property. So would they be violating this policy if they did that while they were on school property?
That's an excellent question.
Uh-huh.
I think, as Dr. Kubik said earlier, an administrator has a lot of discretion in when determining. I think that's probably going to happen, and we're not going to know about it.
Okay, but if you found out about it,
and it becomes disruptive, I think that's goes to a different level.
Okay. I mean, these are the things that I wonder. And so, do we have political clubs at any of our schools?
I believe
Yes.
we do.
So they can do that. They could be organizing political campaigns at their club, which wouldn't be really considered school time kind of a thing. And that would be okay? I'm just asking, because this doesn't say.
Right.
This says off school premises. So if, I don't know if it would be the environmental club picked a candidate or the Republican club decided to support someone. I mean, I don't know. Are they allowed to do that?
Not during school time.
Okay,
In
but
other
that's
words,
not what
they're
this
not
says.
in terms of supporting the candidate during the school hours.
Okay, but that's not what this says.
Okay.
So
It says outside the
Yeah.
school and off premises.
Right, and so I honestly do not know the answer to you as to where the young Republican or Democratic clubs may be holding. If they are at the school, then that's something we may need to take a
Okay.
look at. If
Or
we
are you making them go
are
to
allowing them
McDonald's
to
after
do that.
school?
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, these are just my questions, because if we want them to engage, do they really have to leave school, or can they meet in a classroom after school and do this?
I think that's a good question that we can certainly attempt to resolve before.
I think one of the things is I talk to the students about is the difference between, am I being forced to listen to something?
Correct.
Or is it voluntary, right? So if I've joined a club and I want to engage in a political conversation about political action and a particular candidate or candidates, that's well and fine. Versus somebody that's in the hallway and forcing a conversation or standing on a soapbox and espousing their thoughts in the cafeteria. That's what I think this was trying to get at back in 1974.
Right.
And so we can continue to play with any suggestions you have, but there's a difference I talk to students about between absolutely you can have your political advocacy and your group, your Republican club, your Democrat, whatever it might be, you're having that, but I'm independently making that decision to be there on my own.
But I just want to make
versus
sure
I have
this
to
policy
listen to something
allows
that I
them
may
to
or
do
may
it.
not agree with.
Yeah, because I kind of feel like this is very narrowly written, and that we might actually be preventing them from doing that. And I don't want to prevent them from doing that if they do choose to.
We were very encouraging the students
to freely associate
absolutely.
and do that. I want to let them freely associate and do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had the same comments about the word premises. I was also thinking about the child who takes their parents' car and there's a political bumper sticker on the back and it's parked in the parking lot all day. So, taking bumper stickers off your mom and dad's car before you go to school. Mrs. Ritchie.
It might be, reading and listening to the discussion now, I'm not sure if everybody remembers, but all the voting things are set up in schools. So if you've got a student who's outside of the school, in the perimeter of where they can campaign, they're technically on school premises. I mean, that's taking it to the nth degree, I understand. But the fact is that, so maybe what we need to do is look at this policy in terms of the way it's worded and what our true intent is. Our true intent is what we just said. We don't want to force somebody to be sitting in the cafeteria and listening to somebody, expound on their candidate. That's not the intent of the policy. The policy is to allow students to be able to have a club, be a part of, but not necessarily advocate for and expound. I mean, because that's where we vote. So, I mean, technically, any student would be in violation if they campaigned. So,
Dr. Frank?
If I could, I'd like to ask our student member if he might have any thoughts on this publicly, since you ran for a position, a political position, to be on this school board. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'd like to ask you if you have any thoughts one way or the other on this policy.
So, Dr. Frank, it says in the policy that except for students running for elective school offices, so I'm good. So I'm good. But I understand where Ms. Burge is coming from with the premises, and that we should go back for further discussion on that. But yeah.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
I also had one other note on under B issue. I discovered this weekend that you can register to vote at 16 now, and then you can vote at 17 in the primary if you're going to be 18 by the general. So we have it as 18-year-old students have the responsibility, citizens, to register to vote. So we probably have to fix the ages.
Right. I think maybe we can say something like when meeting the legal age.
Yes.
Since
Great.
changes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any public comment on item 512? All right, thank you. Oh, well, you got one more. 513.
Yes.
Powers, duties, and responsibilities of the superintendent. Policy CBB, first reading.
Policy CBB, powers, duties, and responsibilities of the superintendent, comes to you for first reading. This policy was last updated December 2nd, 1992. This updated policy complies with state law regarding the duties and responsibilities of the superintendent. This policy will be posted on our website for 30 days for public comment, and we will answer any questions you have related to it.
I don't have any board questions or comments. Do we have any public comments? All right. Thank you very much. We've got 6 information to action items. Item 5.14, new course approvals. Do I have a motion to move this from information to action? All those in favor? We now have an action item. Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the approval of these courses beginning in the 2016-2017 school year.
Any board questions or comments? Is there any public comment? Oh, Mrs. Hummer.
So the Stretch Your Wellness class, when we approve these classes, is this just at specific schools or at every school? Will this class be offered at every school? I'm just curious.
Good morning. My name is Christina Walsh. I'm the coordinator of Health, Physical Education, and Dance. And this particular course, Stretch Your Wellness, will only be offered at Annapolis High School for the next year.
Only at Annapolis High School?
Correct.
Okay. So are we exploring it as an option to offer as an alternative at other schools as well?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then the career and technology classes, are those only at the CAT centers? Sorry.
Hi, I'm Deb Albert, Coordinator for Career and Technology Education. So there's one course that will be offered at CAT South, which is the Foundations of Patient Care. That will only be at the Applied Tech Centers. However, the other courses, there's a new program that we would like to start at Arundel High School, Construction, Design, and Management. And so all 4 of those courses will only be offered at Arundel.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, is there any public comment? Oh, Mrs. Birch.
So you're doing a class like this at Annapolis this year, right?
The class right now is actually under Lifetime Sports.
Okay.
So, and it's an extended unit as a part of that.
Okay,
class.
a very long extended
yes.
unit. Okay. Because my niece happens to be taking it, and it kind of cracks me up that this says it's designed to reach a specific population of students who are resistant to athletic activity, because I don't think she is. I think she just really likes yoga. So, and she's very happy to be in the class.
Yes.
Dr. Frank.
Since the subject of technology came up, and having had the opportunity to practice as an engineer, I'd like to know to what extent are all kids in our school system to have an opportunity that there is a CAT North and a CAT South. Are they aware of that opportunity that we have?
Well, I hope they are. We are working hard to market our programs and to make everyone aware of the opportunities, and I think to change the image and make everyone aware that students can easily be dual completers. They can meet university system requirements and career completer requirements, so possibly leave us with the most value added with industry certifications, with college credits, and prepared to be successful. So we've done many things to just get the word out. We have open houses, and I've been meeting with counselors in our comprehensive high schools to make sure they're aware. We've done a lot with changing our publications that go out to parents and to students so that they can understand and see that it really is easy for students to complete both, as I said, be dual completers and be prepared for college and career, which is the goal of my office.
Well, I'm certainly never going to change my thoughts about every child absolutely must finish high school, but there are enormous opportunities for career jobs. Those are incredibly fulfilling, and they pay a great deal of money. And if anyone in your community needs help with electricity or plumbing, they will probably be very glad to know that the fellow that came and knocked on their door to help graduated from Arundel.
Yes, they are. They are. The community is certainly extremely supportive of all of our programs, and I think really understands the value of what students are earning there.
So my last thought is, let me know what I can do to help.
Absolutely. You're invited to everything. Come out and help us spread the good word.
Mrs. Nally?
I was speaking to a young person who had learned about a program at Cat South through visiting from middle school in 8th grade. And I was under the impression that that was true in all the middle schools, that these students are given an opportunity in 8th grade to tour and to be introduced to these programs. Is that
Absolutely.
accurate?
Yes, we have several avenues. We run summer camps for middle school students if they want to go and actually try out a couple of the programs. We have tours for every 8th grader. So every 8th grader goes to their either Cat North or Cat South and gets a tour of the building on a specific day. And then we also have an explorations course that students can sign up for as a 9th grader. It can be 1 semester or 2. It's a purely elective course, but they can test 4 different programs for 4 weeks each, which is really an awesome experience for most students because they get to go in and really smell and feel and taste what that lab looks like and kind of picture themselves there. So we have many exploration type of experiences for students.
Is there any public comment on this item? Okay. All those in favor? Motion passes 900. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 5.15 is the Manor View Elementary School Revitalization and Addition Design Development. This is an information to action item. Do I have a motion to move it from information to action? All those in favor? Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the approval of the revitalization and addition for Manor View Elementary School design development.
I know we don't have a presentation. Just want to.
We do not. And I'll introduce myself, Lisa Seaman Crawford, Director of Facilities.
Larry Albert, Supervisor of Planning, Design, and Construction.
And I'm Jeremy Klein with WGM Architects.
Do we have any board questions or comments? Do we have any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 900. Item 5.16 is the High Point Elementary School Modernization Design Development. This is an information to action item. Do I have a motion to move this from information to action? All those in favor? Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the approval of the High Point Elementary School modernization design development.
Are there any board questions or comments on this one? Mrs. Ritchie.
Just saying, because it's up in my neck of the woods, very excited about this and can't wait to see. I've had the opportunity to tour the old High Point many times, and I'll be looking forward to when this gets done.
Any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 900. Item 5.17 is the Jessup Elementary School Replacement Design Development. This is an information to action item. Do I have a motion to move this from information to action?
Second.
All those in favor? Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the approval of the Jessup Elementary School Replacement Design Development.
Second.
Any board questions or comments? I just want to say I'm excited too. This is my neck of the woods. Can't wait to see it. Any public comment? Right. All those in favor? Motion passes 900. Item 5.18 is the Arnold Elementary School Replacement Design Development. This is an information to action item. Do I have a motion to move it from information to action?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the approval of the Arnold Elementary School Replacement Design Development.
You going to move it? Any board questions or comments?
I'm excited.
We're excited about all of them.
Yes.
All of them.
Mm-hmm. Any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 900. Thank you. Item 6.01 is the second quarter operating budget fund transfer for FY 2016. This is an information to action item. Do I have a motion to move this from information to action? All those in favor? Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the approval of the second quarter operating budget fund transfer for FY 2016 be submitted to the County Council.
Any board questions or comments? Is there any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 900. Item 6.02 is a review item, the monthly financial status report. Is there any board comment or question? Is there any public comment? Okay. Item 6.03 is also a review item, award of contracts. Is there any board questions or comments? Are there any public comments? All righty. And the last two items are consent items, 7.01, 7.02. Construction management for Arnold Elementary School modernization and the data warehouse system. Do I have a motion to bundle these and move them from information to action? All those in favor? Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the Board of Education award contracts as listed on today's agenda, 7.01 and 7.02.
Second.
Board questions or comments? Dr. Frank?
I wonder if you could just explain a little bit the data warehouse system.
Yes, sir. For the record, Alex Shaknovich, Chief Operating Officer, and I'm joined by...
Good morning, Dr. Frank. Jason Dykstra, Executive Director of Instructional Data Division.
And essentially, we have a number of different pieces of software, number of tools that are used in data analytics, but they are essentially riding on top of a repository of data. So the data warehouse is a common storage site to which various applications can drill down, retrieve, pull back out the data, do the analytics. That's essentially the construct. It is a central repository that multiple pieces of software can utilize the data contained within.
I guess my question is, apparently there's a need to revise and update the system, and I think that's really my question.
Yes, sir, Dr. Frank. The system that we have is obsolete. We are currently not even able to use it. It was last purchased in 2004. So this is a new system that we are purchasing, and I anticipate loading over 10 years of school system data into it pending approval of this contract.
I bring all this up only because I'm surprised at how old this system is, and thank you for coming forward and explaining the absolute need to update a computer system that is well out of date.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment on this item? All those in favor? Motion passes 900. I just have a few announcements before we conclude. The next Board of Education meeting is Wednesday, January 6th, 2016 at 10 a.m. The night before, Tuesday, January 5th at Old Mill High School, we have an upcoming budget hearing at 6 p.m. and sign-ups begin at 5. We have another budget hearing here on Thursday, January 7th at Riva Road, also sign-ups beginning at 5 and the hearing at 6. Our Board Policy Committee will meet Wednesday, January 13th at 1 p.m. and the Board Budget Committee will meet Wednesday, January 20th at 4:30. And the budget workshop for the board will be held at 6 o'clock Tuesday, January 19th, and the public will be welcome to attend, but no testimony will be taken. That concludes the open portion of our last meeting of 2015. I want to wish everybody a safe and healthy holiday season and new year, and we'll see you back here next year. Mrs. Nally.
I'd like to move that we go into closed session to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter, to conduct collective bargaining, negotiations, or consider matters that relate to negotiations.
All those in favor? We're now in closed session. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.